So after the client administration completed, today let's start discuss about the some of the performance related transaction codes here. So SAP performance related transaction codes here. So as part of this performance related transaction code, the first transaction code will start with the ST01. So ST01 is for the system trace. System trace. So in your system, suppose we want to trace something. If you want to track something, then we can use the ST01 transaction code to enable the trace. Suppose the existing logs in the work directory SM21, ST22, the logs are not enough to troubleshoot the issue. Still, you want to find out the some RFC say trace, SQL trace, some other performance related issues traces if you want to find out. So you can go to the ST01 system trace. There we can find out the issues here. So for this one, you need to go to the ST01 transaction code. So there you can just to enable the trace. Suppose you want to check the some you are facing some authorization issues, right? Or you are facing the some kernel issues, some RFC calls, HTTP calls, some other things you want to track it here, some logs you need to collect it as a evidences. Then you can enable the trace. You can enable the trace here. So then you can ask user to reproduce the issue. So you can ask user to reproduce the issue. Maybe you can ask other user, suppose like user to do the some other transaction code access other things. You can ask them to access it here. Suppose like some other functional transaction code, so PA30, some other. So like if you accessing, it will suppose you are not authorized to use it here, right? So you can ask them to access it here. So they will access, right? So they will access, they will face the issues here. Then you can turn off the trace. You can just turn off the trace. So then just go for the analysis, trace analysis here. So here it will give you the some information, some logs, some information will be provided here. So tracing, which means some useful information like so why user is facing the some issues here, right? So why user is facing the issues. So some kind of information he will track it. He will face it here. What are the issues and everything. So he will face it here. If no issues, nothing will be generated. Maybe let me remove the dates and time. Just click on the tracing. Let's see whether will be there any errors will be recorded or not. So let's see here. Yes. See here, the user, the basis user, we got the some authorization error. So I just removed the tracing. I started the transaction ST01. Then, so then here you can see finish started. So some error messages you can see it here. So this will be sometimes SAP may ask you to provide the some information about provide the ST01 trace. So that they can check the what is the error. So why this is error. So like that they can start investigating further here, right? This will be helpful for us. So this will be helpful. So to investigate the issue, what happened, why this is happened. So that kind of records will be helpful here. So this trace, we can download it to the one of the local file. Then we can inform to the SAP to investigate it further here. To investigate it further here. So just you can download it in your local desktop or laptops. Just you can inform to the SAP, can attach it here so that they will guide you why this is error is occurring and everything. They can suggest to you, right? So in case of they ask you the ST01 system trace, then we can enable the system trace by using the ST01 transaction code here, right? This is the system trace here. So at the same time, we have the ST05 also trace that is called the performance trace. So we have the some other transaction codes as well, ST02, ST03, ST04, then ST05. So ST01 and 05 are the traces, collecting the traces here, system trace. So this is for the performance trace, performance. So traces here, performance traces here. So if you go to the ST05 transaction code, it is the performance trace. So maybe especially for the DB level, which statement, which table is taking the longer duration, which table having the issues. So those traces we can switch on. We can switch on the traces here so that trace is switched on. Then you can ask user to access the one of the transaction code here. Slowness, performance related issues. So you are executed one of the sales related transaction code. See how much time that is taking the sales related transaction code. See here. So how much time still it is processing, right? So outbound delivery processing here, right? You got the response in the 14,000 milliseconds. So the response time of the your system is 14,000 milliseconds. It got response time, right? So we need to check what happened, why this much of time taken for the to access the transaction code here, right? You got it now. So just deactivate the trace. Now it will collect all the traces here. So now just click on the display trace with the basis user, which user you reproduced the issue, display the trace, just click on the OK button. Then you see, so there the number of logs will be it will be recorded here. So what happened during that time? So how much duration it took it here? How many records got fetched it out here? Right? So then, so here you can see the all the information, which tables it got filtered, which tables it got recorded. So what are the tables names? Whether the table has which statement took the longer duration, right? 24,000. So 30,000. That select statement, one of the select statement where, so this took the some longer duration, right? Then after that, this is the statement where is the table name is equal to this is the table, right? Some internal tables here. So you can check the duration, how many records it fetched it here. So here we can find out. So which time, which one, this one took the longer duration here. So then next what? So then based on this, here we can find out the what is the table name, what is the SQL statement, which took the very longer duration to get the answer from the database level. So you got all the commits very less. See here DB commits very less here. So then, but from where it got taken some time to pull the records. So maybe select statement. Maybe in the select statement, we need to check are there any index. This is the program it is used. This is the program it is used for the sales order here, right? For the sales, this is the program it is used here. So what is the table here? DD entity table here. So in this table, so how many records? Actually, the record count, you can see it here, filter the record counts here. How much time it taken for that record count here. So you will get the all the details starting to ending. You will get the records here. So inserting the values. So it took the some duration. Insertion taken the some duration here. Then remaining durations are very minimal. But so if you see here very high, this is the very high duration. That is select statement. That is the table name. So we need to check in this table if we have any index are there or not. So why it's taking very longer duration for this table. So like that, we need to start the investigating. Like that, we need to start the investigating the performance issues and all kind of performance issues in the system here. If any performance issues in the system, so we have to go to the here. Then we need to look at the we need to look at the we need to enable the trace. Then we can check the why it is taking longer time. So all the things we can check it out here. All the things we can check it out here using the ST05 performance trace here, system trace and performance trace here. So both are traces only. Both the traces. The main aim is to find out the issues here. The main aim is to find out the issues. Why it took very longer duration. Why it took very longer duration to complete to fetch the data and all those things. It is the tracing related activities here, right? So that is the performance trace and system traces here. So ST02 is the one of the important transaction code. This is the here in this in here you can it's called the tune summary, tune buffers, right? Tune summary here. Here we can find out the buffers, right? Here we can find out the buffers, swaps, so hit ratio, and so hit ratio, so memory utilization, etc. We can find out in the ST02 here. So ST02 is the system, all the transaction codes or some transaction codes are behaving very slowly, which means we need to check the buffers in ST02 here, right? So buffers we need to check it out here. So always these are the buffers here. Buffers, what is buffer means? Buffers are short or temporary storage areas. Buffers are temporary storage areas. It will store the data. It will store the data, the frequently accessed data. It will store the frequently accessed data from the systems here, right? So the users which they are frequently accessing the data will be stored into the buffers here. That is called the buffer, right? So here we have the types of buffers are there, right? The foreground buffer, CA buffer, calendar buffer, CA buffer, tables buffer, export buffer, table buffer, so field buffer, so a name tab buffer. So everything there are the buffers. So buffers are there in the application level, application server level. Suppose if you take this is the SAP, this is the application server, this is the database, right? SAP is the three-tier architecture here. So as we discussed initially, so in the SAP, we have the buffers. So suppose like foreground buffer, CA buffer, calendar buffer. So there are the buffers are n number of buffers are available in the SAP here, right? So these buffers will store the frequently accessed data. Who will access? Users. So the users which they are frequently accessing data will be stored into the buffers. So the buffers contain some data, frequently accessed data contains here. So whenever the user requests, suppose he wants some data, the first it will check the SAP buffers. You want to access some program, it will check the buffers. So if the the data is there in the buffers, then immediately it fetch the data, it will give the response back to the users here, right? So then we are minimizing the timelines of the here to here. Only this response time we need to calculate it here. Suppose user requesting one of the new transaction code that is not exist here, then what it will do, it will go to the database level, it will fetch the data here, then one copy of data will be stored into the data here buffers, then it will give the response back to the users here. So which means here it will check the data is not exist in the buffers, then what it will do, it will go to the database level, it will fetch the data, then it will give the response. So there is a high response time, right? Why? Because SAP, our presentation layer to SAP, then SAP to then DB buffers, SAP to DB buffers, it is checking. SAP to the DB buffers, it is checking here. SAP to the DB buffers, it is going to the DB. So then you are fetching the data. So from here to here, this time, from plus this time, it has to be calculated, right? So the next time when you are accessing the similar transaction, so the data already available here. So then it will fetch the data, it will give the response back to the users here. That time the response time will be reduced. Response time will be reduced here, right? So why? Because buffers are the SAP level, we have some buffers. It will store the temporary data with the programs, screens, calendars, objects, tables, fields, so name tab. So there are some type of buffers are there. It will store the related data. It will be stored. If the user requesting the same data, then it will fetch from the buffers. It will give the response. It no need to go to the your response here. No need to go to the database level. That's why you see hit ratio. What is meant by hit ratio means how many requests are hitting the buffers, how many requests are going to the database level here. Always hit ratio should be 98 plus or 95 plus above it should be there. Then only system having very good performance issues. Good performance means you are getting the say data from the SAP level only itself, not the database level here. That's why you can see, so all buffers are the 95 plus only here. So which means it is good. How much space? Why? Because buffer means some kind of bowl, right? In your bowl, in your kitchen, you have some bowls, right? So suppose like salt one bowl, chili one bowl, some So some other things are, some other items are in the bowls, right? So each bowl, there is some certain quantity, right? Suppose like 500, 500, sorry, 500 grams, some kind of some grams it is available. So in that, you are pouring your salt. So in the salt bowl, you are pouring the salt here. Like same rice, 4 gram bowl, we are just pouring the 4 grams. All the 4 grams will be stored in this 4 grams here, right? What is the allocated KB? What is the free space? How much free percentage is there? It will give the results here. It will give the results here. This is the same. So allocated KB, how much? Then what is the free percentage, directory size? So all the information is available here. Here, do you see there is no swaps here? Swaps means here frequently, suppose you are accessing something, the buffers is running out of the free space. If the buffers are running out of the free space, then we may get the swaps. If the buffers are running out of the space, we may get the buffers are running out of the free space. So we may get the swaps here. Means in case of that bowl got full, then there is a overflow will happen. The overflow related items will be showed here. The swaps, that is called the swaps. When the swaps occurs, when the buffers are running out of the free space. So when the overflow again, when the respective bowl got full, then it will be overflow the bowl, right? Same as like here as well, it will overflow the bowl here. Here the below item is for the memory areas here. So memory areas here, but buffers are the main here. You can see everything here, everything you can see it here, right? CUA buffers, there are the buffer names here, right? So there is no naming convention like what is CUA, what is buffer, what is BU. So like that, there is a CUA means it's kind of some buffer naming convention here, CUA buffers here. So there are some internal buffer naming conventions we have here. So here, so we can find out what is the percent. If everything is 0, then we no need to worry about as part of the daily monitoring. Sometimes we may see the high responses here. There is swaps overflow because of the less space. We may get the swap overflow here. So that time we may have to look at the system. Why? So are there any? We may have to increase the buffer values, or we may have to check the other areas. We may have to look at it, like increasing the buffer space. But each and everything there is a space here. Each and everything there is a size of the size. The size will be controlled by the parameter. So we need to change the parameter. Let's go to the ST02 of the ECD. Let's see what is the utilization here. Here also very okay. So except the initial records, remaining all the buffers are okay here, right? So if you keep on accessing the data, what will happen? If you keep on accessing, what will happen? So the data will be stored it here, right? Suppose, let me give you some examples here. Suppose you are trying to use the one of the transaction code MyGo, right? Let's see how much time it will take. Goods movement transaction code. See here how much time it is taking. Still it is processing. These are some of the sales related, some goods related transaction codes here. Here you can see how much time. It's like 16,000 milliseconds, right? The response time, it is got it 16,000 milliseconds. The same time you close it. Now again use that same transaction again. It will be very faster now. It will be, so it will be very faster. Now see, so it is very faster here. Means, so it is like 2000. Only 2900 so milliseconds here. So now again execute the same transaction code. So same transaction code here. How much? Then 2, 3. So response time, if you are keep on using the system, the response time is getting reduced. Means you are getting the response very quickly. You are getting the response quickly. You are getting the response here. That's why you can see within the seconds you are getting the response here. That is called the transponse. So which means what is happening here? So first it is going to check here. The first time it will check your data whether it is there in the buffers or not. It is checking in the buffers. So if there is no data in the buffer, it is going to the database level. It is pulling the data. It is giving the response back to the buffers. Again, it will store it. Then it will send it to the here. It will send it to the here, right? So send it to the here, right? So that one. In case of the overflow is happening, the buffers, there is swaps are coming here, the overflow happening, the swaps are coming here. What we have to do, we need to check. Suppose like there is a foreground buffer, there the lot of swaps are occurring in the system, right? We can get the history. We can get the history. Also, we can get the what is there in that here, what is there in that buffer, in that bowl, what is there, how many objects are there here. So we need to work with the functional or development team whether any cleanup, any unwanted data can be removed, unwanted programs or anything can be removed from the system, right? To free up the space. In case of there is no, unfortunately, there is nothing to clean up, then in this case, we need to check the current value of the parameters. The buffer above buffer size, this is the size of the buffer here, right? So this is what configured. Then we need to change this one. We need to increase to the some, what is the this KB? This is the KB, this much of KB, right? So then if you increase it, what will happen? The space, the bowl will be very big. Then the bowl will not fill it. Then you won't get the any swaps here. So two actions here. The swaps are coming. Then either we may need to increase the buffers, or we need to do some cleanup activities here. Some cleanup activities here. So per day, 10,000 swaps are allowed. That is so no need to take any action. 0 to 10,000, any swaps coming, some 0, 1, 2, 3, something like that, the swaps will come. So anything is coming 0 to 10,000. So for those per day, it's allowed. So it's a known issue that we can ignore it. If the more than 10,000 swaps are coming daily, then we need to investigate it. If required, then we need to extend if required, we need to extend so we need to extend the buffer space here. How means you can go to the parameters. You will get the list, current parameters list here. If you go to the current parameter, each buffer, program buffer, CI buffer, screen buffer, there is a parameters. Just to increase the value of this KB, then buffer will be increased. Increase this one, then it will be increased here. The buffers will be increased. This is what we have to do that one. That is what we have to do that one. So here we can see the buffers, hit ratio, allocated space, swap, free. So all those things we can find out in the ST02 transaction code here. Tune summary here. The next one is called so suppose tomorrow system is slow, transaction code is slow means during the system startup, once the system is restarted, during the starting of the system, it will be very slow. First time it will be very slow. Why? Because buffer has to be filled up. The frequently accessed data will be filled up. Then if you keep on accessing the system very daily, very frequently same, then it will be very fast. Why? Because same data will be available in the buffer itself only. Then it will take the data from the buffers, then it will give the response back to the users here, right? So that is what we have to do here, right? So then, that's where we can find out how the buffers are behaving, any swaps are coming, what is the hit ratio, the good hit ratio for the better performance. So it's a 98 or 99% above the good hit ratio, 95 plus. Basically, if the hit ratio should be 95 plus of the buffers, then there is a 95 plus of the buffers, then there is a no issues with the system here. Mainly the foreground buffers is the very important here. The foreground buffers are very important here. Why? Because here SAP level, the programs will be executed. Always this program should be so 98, 99, 95 plus, then that is the threshold. So then in this case, you don't have any performance issues in the system here, right? If any swaps daily basis, if any swaps are occurring, we need to investigate it. Are there any swaps and everything? We need to investigate it here. Okay. That is the ST02 transaction code here. The next one is called the ST03 transaction code here. This is the one of the very, very important transaction code as well. This is also workload analysis. So workload analysis transaction code ST03 or ST03N transaction code here. Workload, SAP workload analysis transaction here. We go to the ST03 transaction code, the workload. So daily, hourly, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, daily, weekly, monthly, right? So every day. So suppose you want to take the so it will track every daily. It will record the changes here. It will record the all those things here will be here, right? So you can see it here. So you can see it here. So I think last 2 days daily. Only Saturday, up to Saturday, we have the data here. Okay. So if we can check it out, what happened Saturday? What is the response time here? Right? If you double click on it, here you will get the here. The main thing is here we need to look at the time, the response time. This is the response time of the dialogues. So dialogue response time, we may have to look at this one here. The dialogue response times here. So this is the one of the important thing, the dialogue response time. So this one we have to look at. So it should not be more than 2 minutes, more than 3 minutes, more than 4 minutes, the average dialogue response time here. So if it is a more than 2 minutes, means the average one dialogue work process for one user request, it's taking the more than 2 minutes to process these transactions and everything. Means it's taking time, right? So that is the business user taking the time here. So dialogue work process average response should not be more than, so normally if more than 2 minutes, or some customers they will prefer it like every customer, some customer there is a 4 minutes, some customer 5 minutes, 4 minutes is the suggestible. If the more than 4 minutes means, so more than 2 minutes or 4 minutes, then there is a issue in the system. The dialogue work processor not responding very quickly here. Dialogue work processor not responding very quickly. So it's taking some time to finish it here. Then we need to investigate what went wrong. All the information we need to check it out in the systems here. So that is called the workload analysis. Here, to entire system analysis, we can find out daily, monthly, weekly. So you can check it out the data here. This data the required here. Here, how many steps are executed average per yesterday, the 13th. Then average time, how much time? What is the average processing time? What is the CPU time? How much CPU time? What is the DB time? Roll in time. How much time? So like average DB process time. So roll in time, wait time, how much time it is taken, wait in, no, nothing, no wait. So roll in time, roll wait time. So load, there is a times are available here. Here we can find out, so all the information here. You can just select it the day, just if you go to the transaction profile on the 13th, what are the transactions are executed on the 13th here. You can see what are the transactions are executed. These are the transactions, these are the jobs are executed on the 13th here. Here you can find out on 13th which day we had a very high response here, right? There is a one background job taken the very longer high response time. Then after that, the BTC Del 2, the reorg jobs taken some time. Then EU reorg jobs. Then the standard jobs are basically the standard jobs are taking the longer time to complete it here. The longer time completed here, right? Here we can see it here. Also, you want to check the time profile in which time 0 to which time we have the high response here. You can see 0 to 6 hour we have the high response. 0 to 6 hour, what has been executed here? What has been executed in the 0 to 6 hour, right? You can see all these transactions, jobs are executed here. You can find out the some information here, some information in the system here. In the standard, so normally you want to find out who executed this job. If you double click it, then you will find out the basis user executed this transaction, this program. Then if you find out this one who executed what, then this is also basis user here, right? So if you find out this one who executed, then a basis user here. So all the jobs are running under the basis user. So that is the reason you can see there is a high response on this date here. So not only date, suppose you want to check the March month average response time. Every monthly we need to check the response time. We need to calculate it here, right? We go to the workload overview here. So here, so you can find out the what is the response time here? What is the response time of the dialogue here, right? Dialogue. See here, it's a 11,180 milliseconds here. This is in the milliseconds, which means if we convert to the minutes, how many minutes will come here, right? It's a milliseconds, right? So then it should be a very less. The monthly wise data I'm taking here in the March month, entire March month. So what is the system status here? Entire March month, how the system is behaving. So all the information I'm gathering from here. All the information I gathered from the here, right? So in this here, So what has been executed here in this March month? Total how many? So SGen is taken the sometime here, right? So then this is very, very longer time. So what is this transaction? The March month, we filter it out. SGen, yes, SGen. So SGen taken the very longer time here. Who executed this SGen? So some of the basis user, the SGen job they have executed here, right? In the March month they have executed. Next one is the 36,491. So this is the client copy. Who executed this client copy? The basis user. This is the for background job. It is executed. This is taken the this much of time here, right? So then like that we can find out the so who executed what and so what is the time profile, in which time profile we have this issue, which time profile we have the issue. Suppose like in the average processing time, which time, so it can taken the much memory 002 6 hour and also six which hour which taken time taken here in that hour what executed everything it given the some results here, right? What executed. So all the information, all the workload analysis we can find out from here, right? In the ST03 transaction code, it's a workload analysis, SAP workload, how much time is taking to process your transactions in the SAP system. That kind of information we can see it in the ST03 transaction code here, right? So here we can find out the times. So the standard what are the transaction, which time, which hour it is having the heavy load, then memory usage statistics here, RFC profiles here, which transaction how much time memory it is used here, then RFC profiles this much or not. But here mainly the transaction profile and the time profiles are the very important here. What transactions, what time, there is a very high response we can find out. Why? Because sometimes your manager will ask you, so yesterday, particularly the 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. IST, so there is a very system slowness. Can you find out who executed what and what is the response time of the transactions here? So in this case, so we can see it here. We can go to the here. Here we can find out, okay, so here this is the transaction, it is executed very long. So then, so this transaction code executed by this is the user, we need to check with how he executed. So during the peak hours like that, we can start investigating it here. We can start investigating the transactions code here. Yeah, basically this transaction code is for the this transaction code is for the analyzing the system response. Basically the transaction code is for the analyzing the system response here, right? So that is the one we have to do it here, right? So system workload, system analysis here. Okay, so system workload analysis to analyze the system performance, who executed what, and whichever we have the high load and hourly wise, monthly wise. So we can find out the data here, right? You can see it here, monthly wise, so weekly wise data and the daily wise data also we can find out from the here. That is what we have to do it here. That is what we have to do it in the systems here. Okay. So this is the analysis of the system workload here. How much time? Why? Because is system, so starting onwards, like you user logging onwards, each and everything is countable here. The response times, everything, wait time, how much time you have waited from the GUI. Suppose sometimes what we see due to the dialog or cross unavailability, sometimes when you click the SAP login button, sometimes you won't get the log on screen here. It may take some time, and also sometime after you log in also it may take some time to log in also in the system here, right? So here each and everything after you logging, then after you log out, entire duration will be countable here. Entire duration will be here. You can see it here how much time it is taking here. So everything will be countable. Everything will be countable in the analysis perspective here. That is called the ST03N transaction code. ST03 or ST03N transaction code here. Okay. So that is the ST03N transaction code. So the next transaction code, Shall I explain or will you guys practice? Yeah, shall I explain or will you guys practice the up to here? Okay, fine, right? Okay, why? Because this is a very big transaction code ST04 DB performance. So DB performance related things here. DB performance. Okay, someone saying that practice. Oh, many members. Okay, I will explain only these things. Then let's see. Okay, ST04 DB performance related transactions. DB performance. So if we use the ST04, just I will give you the overview. ST04, this is called the database related performance. ST03 is the SCP related DB0, sorry. So ST04 are, so there is a all the DB related, so data performance anything you can just use the DBA cockpit. This is the replacement of the ST04. Then there is a DB01, then DB02, then we have DB13, we have DB12, then we have the, so yeah, these all are the database related transactions here. If you use all the transaction codes, or if you use the one transaction code also, so you will get the all the screens here. It will give you the database related performance. How the your database? Previously we checked about the SCP. Now it's a like kind of database related performance analysis here, right? So your DB related performance overview here. What is the release, DB CPUs used, all the information will be displayed here. All the information will be displayed here. What is the performance, current process, statement, what are the because database level, all the SQL statements, what is the input output performance, how many locks are there in the database level, memory. So all the information we can check it out in the systems here. Either you use this transaction or we can also use the DBA cockpit transaction code. This is for the all the database related transactions are in the one place, right? So I will clearly explain all these transaction codes. It will take very longer time. So just you can just execute the DB ST04 is for the database related performance. Then once the ST05 we completes, then we have the ST06 very simple transaction code ST07. Then we have the some other transaction code Scott. Then SOST, SMT. There are a lot of things are there that we will discuss one by one. Okay. So meanwhile you can practice it. Why? Because very longer transaction codes. This one it's required some you need to practice it. So yeah, you can just practice it. So let's see. Okay, you can use the practice purpose instead of kind copies and everything. Can do NWD system. So you want to practice the transactions to get the real experience. You can do it in the our ECD ECP systems. You can practice it. ECD ECP systems, D and P systems. You can practice it so that so you will get the good workload, same as like real time you will get the good workload here. Okay.